Good day, everyone. Today we will talk about the structures of globalization. I am Bolo, and together with me is Jayson Adaya, Arlene Bala, and we are from BTVTED-HVACR third year. In this lesson, in the end, students shall define the structures of globalization, identify the types and kinds of each structures of globalization, and also to recognize the importance of governing the globalization and the global economy. In the structures of globalization, we will talk about first the global economy, second the market integration, the third is the global interstate system, and fourth is the contemporary global governance. What is global economy? The global economy refers to the interconnected worldwide economic activities that takes place between multiple countries. These economic activities can have either positive and or negative impact in the countries involved. So this is what we are experiencing right now, that economic activities in the Philippines and other countries are interconnected. So what happens in the other economy also affects our economy and vice versa. The global economy comprises several characteristics such as globalization, international trade, international finance, and global investment. And we will discuss them one by one. First is globalization. Describes a process by which national and regional economies, societies, and cultures have become integrated through the global network of trade, communication, immigration, and transportation. These developments led to the advent of the global economy. Due to the global economy and globalization, domestic economies have become cohesive, leading to an improvement in their performance. So what enables countries to develop more in their economies is because of the globalization, where communication, immigration, and transportation became a trend and became faster than before. So that is why economies have improved even in the countries which is not really a economic power before. And now, because of the globalization, they have improved. Second is the international trade. International trade is considered to be an impact of globalization. It refers to the exchange of goods and services between countries, and it has also helped countries to specialize in products which they have a comparative advantage in. This is an economic theory that refers to the economy's ability to produce goods and services at a lower opportunity cost than its trade partners. So here at the international trade, different countries have also their different products. For example, in the Philippines, most of our products are more on agricultural products. And for example, in China, they are low cost in production. So that's why almost all things are made in China. And for example, in Japan, they are specialized in cars. So mostly of our cars are in Japanese brand. And also in electronics, for example, in the US, they are good in many things. So each country they have their own specialization in goods and services to be traded internationally. Third is the international finance. Money can be transferred at faster rate between countries compared to goods, services, and people, making international finance one of the primary features of global economy. International finance consists of topics like currency exchange rates, and monetary policy. Lastly is the global investment. This refers to an investment strategy that is not constrained by geographical boundaries. Global investment mainly takes place via foreign direct investment or FDI. This FDI is an investment made by a firm or individual in one country into business interest located in another country. Generally, FDI takes place when an investor establishes foreign business, operates or acquires foreign business assets in a foreign country. So now we will discuss about the benefits of the global economy. So first benefit is the free trade. Free trade is an excellent method for the countries to exchange goods and services. It also allows countries to specialize in the production of those goods in which they have a comparative advantage. For example, in Japan, so they are good in making cars, so that is why most of our cars here in the Philippines are Japanese brand because Japanese are good in making cars. And movement of labor. Increased migration of the labor force is advantageous for the recipient country as well as for the workers. If a country is going through a phase of high unemployment, workers can look jobs for the other countries. This also helps in reducing geographical inequality. So the perfect example for this is the Middle East and the Philippines. So the Philippines has a high unemployment rate, and these people have the proper skills and also knowledgeable of their expertise, but they cannot look for job here in the Philippines. But the Middle Eastern countries are they are lacking of the workforce. That is why they are opening their country for overseas workers, for example, for the Filipinos. So there, Filipinos can work because there are so many job opportunities there, and the country is opening its doors for the countries who are also offering their labor force to work there. So that is why the Philippines are the perfect example for this. And the third one is the increased economies of scale. This specialization of goods production in most countries has led to advantageous economic factors, such as lower average cost and lower prices for customers. And the fourth one is the increased investment. Due to the presence of global economy, it has become easier for countries to attract short-term and long-term investment. Investments in developing countries go a long way in improving their economies. So the example for here again is the Philippines. So some of our investors are foreign investors, and because of them, our countries are having a development and growth in our economy, and it is because of the also foreign investors who are trying to venture in our country. And also, in return, they have also gained the right profit here in our country. It is because our country also is a developing country, and that is we are really need of economic development, and it is because of the globalization that enables that to happen. There are also factors affecting the global economy. So one of these factors is natural resources. So natural resources also can help to develop the economy in a certain region or country. For example, in the Middle East, they are rich in fuels and gases, so they have a lot of resources so that they can develop their economy more. And second is the infrastructure. So this might refers to the roads, for example. So that is why building roads and also developing an area could help to enable investments to happen, so the economy will grow. It's because of the infrastructure also. and the population. For example, in the Philippines, we are highly populated, and we have so many workforce. So that's why it is a advantage for our economy to grow, because there is a lot of workforce, and also the labor and the human capital. Technology also is a factor. It is because technology is a very important in the economy. It is because it enables the economy to work and grow faster. And third is law. So for example, in the Philippines, we are implementing laws that regulates investments and also for economic development. Some laws are in other countries are controlling their taxes for the investors, and also in our countries also making laws to protect investors or enable investors to do more and invest more in our country.
My name is Jayson M. Adaya from BTVTED-HVACR. Market integration. Market integration occurs when prices among different locations or related goods follow similar patterns over a long period of time. Groups of goods often move proportionally to each other, and when this relation is very clear among different markets, it is said that the markets are integrated. There are two types of market integration. The first is the horizontal integration. This occurs when a firm or agency gains control of other firms or agencies, performing similar marketing functions at the same level in the marketing sequence. In this type of integration, some marketing agencies combine to form a union with a view to reducing their effective number and the extent of actual competition in the market. It is advantageous for the members who join the group. So the horizontal integration, for example, if I have a banana company and also another person has also a banana company, and we will be merging for us to control the supply and profit rather than competing each other. So the second type of market integration, which is the vertical integration. This occurs when a firm performs more than one activity in the sequence of the marketing process. It is a linking together of two or more functions in the marketing process within a single firm or under a single ownership. This type of integration makes it possible to exercise control over both quality and quantity of the product from the beginning of the production process until the product is ready for the consumer. It reduces the number of middlemen in the marketing channel. So the vertical integration, for example, I have my construction company from the production of materials, construction of the infrastructure, up to selling of the properties are owned and operated by single company. There are two types of vertical integration under the market integration, which is the forward integration. If a firm assumes another function of marketing which is closer to the consumption function, it is a case of forward integration. Example, wholesaler assuming the function of retailing. So the forward integration is when a company expands by purchasing and controlling the direct distribution or supply of its products. A clothing manufacturer that opens its own retail locations to sell its products is an example of forward integration. Forward integration helps companies cut out the middle person by removing distributors that would typically be paid to sell a company's products. Overall, profitability is improved. So the second type of vertical integration under the market integration, which is the backward integration. This involves ownership or a combination of sources of supply. Example, when a processing firm assumes the function of assembling, purchasing the produce from the villages. The backward integration is when a company expands backward on the product path into manufacturing, meaning a retailer buys the manufacturer of their product. An example might be Amazon, which expanded from an online retailer of books to become a publisher with its Kindle platform. Amazon also owns warehouse and parts of its distribution channel. The last type of market integration, which is the conglomeration. A combination of agencies or activities not directly related to each other, may, when it operates under a unified management, be termed a conglomeration. This conglomeration, for example, a group of different companies form an association to operate another business. Let's proceed to the global interstate system. Global interstate system refers to a system for international relations. It also refers to institutions that govern international relations. International relations, an academic discipline that focuses on the study of the interaction of the actors in international politics. The scope of international relations encompasses such as globalization, diplomatic relation, state sovereignty, international security, ecological sustainability, nuclear proliferation, nationalism, economic development, global finance, terrorism, and human rights. Internationalism is a political principle which transcends nationalism and advocates a greater political or economic cooperation among nations and people. This control by the state and the complex of relations between the diverse international actors can be made more coherent by dividing international relations into interstate, intersocietal, and interpersonal. There are three types of international relations under the global interstate system, which is the interstate relations, intersocietal relations, interpersonal relations. The first type of international relations under the global interstate system is the interstate relations. Are those authoritative actions, understandings, or commitments of the governmental authorities, the leader of one state to or with the governmental authorities of another state or its group or citizens, either bilaterally or through international organizations. These interstate relations, for example, the Philippines have agreement to the other country in terms of job opportunity, security, economy, and many more. The second type of international relations under the global interstate system is the intersocietal relations. Are those authoritative actions, understanding, or commitments of authorities, of groups within one state with those groups or citizens of another state, or those relations within groups whose membership and organizations transcend states. These intersocietal relations is, for example, the organizations within this country have a relationship to the other organization in different countries. The last type of the international relations under the global interstate system is the interpersonal relations. In international relations are those relations of or between citizens of different states acting in their personal state's interests. There are two major theories of international relations under the global interstate system, which is the realism and liberalism or idealism. Major theories of international relations under the global interstate system is the realism. Focuses on the notions that states work to increase their own power relative to other states. The theory of realism states that the only certainty in the world is power. Therefore, a powerful state by a military power, the most important and reliable form of power, will always be able to outlast its weaker competitors. Self-preservation is a major theme in realism, as states must always seek power to protect themselves. This realism is more traditional wherein countries are less open to other countries and promotes borders. This is because to protect themselves. The last major theories of international relations under the global interstate system is the liberalism. Recognizes that states share broad ties, thus making it difficult to define singular, independent national interests. The theory of liberalism in international relations, therefore, involves the decreased use of military power. The theory of realism has begun to take shape in 1970s as increasing globalizations, communications, technology, and international trade made some scholars argue that realism was outdated. This liberalism allows greater international relations because they are welcoming.
So now, let's proceed to the contemporary global governance. So we have here the definition of the global governance. Okay, it examines GOV in the international system for managing complex issues and to engage stakeholders on practical steps for collective problem solving. It brings together diverse actors to coordinate collective action. So, as I deeply search about this global governance, these are the result. So the other definition of global governance are the process of designating laws or rules or regulations intended for a global scale. Second, it used to designate all regulations intended for organization and centralization of human societies. Third, the management of global processes in the absence of global government. And fourth, global governance refers to concrete cooperative problem-solving arrangements, many of which increasingly involve not only the United Nations of States, but also other, namely international secretariats and other non-state actors. So, this global governance is a movement towards political cooperation among transnational actors who aims at negotiating responses to problems that can affect more than one state or a region. So let's move on to the three institutions of global governance. So first is the United Nations or the Intergovernmental Organization, and second is the International Criminal Court or ICC. So, and the third one is the World Bank. So, the United Nations, we'll talk about this later. And now let's proceed to number two, the International Criminal Court or the ICC. So, it investigates and where warranted tries individual charged with the gravest crimes of concern to the international community. This International Criminal Court, or ICC, is an intergovernmental organization and international tribunal that sits in The Hague, Netherlands. The ICC is the individuals for the international crimes of genocide, crimes against humanity, war crimes, and the crimes of aggression. It is intended to complement existing national judicial systems, and it may therefore exercise its jurisdiction only when national courts are unwilling to unable to prosecute criminals. The ICC lacks universal territorial jurisdiction and may only investigate and prosecute crimes committed within member states, crimes committed by nationals of member states, or crimes in situations referred to the court by the United Nations Security Council. So we have here the next one, the World Bank. So the World Bank, one of the world's largest sources of funding and knowledge for the developing countries. So it is an international financial institution that provides loans and grants to the governments of low and middle income countries for the purpose of pursuing capital projects. It comprises two institutions, the International Bank for Reconstruction and Development, or the IBRD, and the International Development Association, or IDA. The World Bank is component of the World Bank Group. So this World Bank's most recently stated goal is the reduction of the poverty. So now let's talk about the purposes of the United Nations. It is under the Institute of the Global Governance. So the purpose of the United Nations is to maintain international peace and security, to develop friendly relations among nations based on equal rights and self-determination of peoples, and to take other appropriate measures to strengthen peace, to achieve cooperation in solving international economic, social, cultural, and humanitarian problems. Next is to promote and encourage respect for human rights and fundamental freedoms for all without distinction to race, sex, language, or religion, and it is to be the center for harmonizing the action of nations in achieving these ends. So the purpose of having this Institute of Global Governance, which is the United Nations, is to maintain the international peace, to develop friendly relations among international economic, social, cultural, and of course, promoting and encouraging fundamental freedoms without distinction and equal rights among nations. So the basic principles underlying the United Nations are: all member states are sovereign and equal. Second, in all international relations, no member shall use force or threaten force against the territory and political independence of any state, or behave in a manner inconsistent with the purposes of the United Nations. So all member states are pledged to fulfill their obligations under the Charter in good faith. Next is, as it is necessary to preserve peace and security, the United Nations shall ensure that countries which are not members act in accordance with the principle of the Charter. Next is the UN, or the United Nations shall not intervene in matters which are essentially within the domestic jurisdiction of any state, except when it is acting to enforce peace. So the basic principles can promote peace and equality towards all the members of the state, and by this, it will preserve security and peace that will result to positive outcomes of the principle underlying on the United Nations. So the institution of the global governance, which is the United Nations, has 6 principal organs. Those are the General Assembly, second, Security Council, third, Economic and Social Council, 4th, Trusteeship Council, 5th, International Court of Justice, and 6th is the Secretariat. So what is this six principal organs? So let's talk about the first one, the General Assembly. So the General Assembly is the heart of the United Nations. This place where member countries have an equal voice in decision making in subjects pertaining to international peace and security, including development, disarmament, human rights, international law, and the peaceful arbitration of disputes between nations. So the second one is the Security Council. So this Security Council has primary instrument for establishing and maintaining international peace. The main purpose is to prevent war by settling disputes between nations. Under Charter, the Council is permitted to dispatch a UN force to stop aggression. It has 15 members. There are 5 permanent members and 10 temporary members elected by the General Assembly for 2 years term from 5 different regions of the world. So the third one is the Economic and Social Council. So the Economic and Social Council, also called as ECOSOC or ECOSOC, and it seeks to build a world of prosperity, stability, and justice. It makes studies, reports, and recommendations on international economics, social, cultural, educational, health-related matters, and also with respect to human rights and fundamental freedom for all. So the fourth one is the Trusteeship Council. The designed to supervise the government of trust territories and to lead them to self-government and independence. The function is examine and discuss reports from administering authority. The fifth one is the International Court of Justice, the principal judicial organ of the United Nations, which sits at The Hague in Netherlands, so sometimes known as the World Court. So the last one is the Secretariat. It organizes along departmental lines with each department or office having a distinct area of action and responsibility. The offices and departments coordinate with each other to ensure cohesion as they carry out the day-to-day work of the organization in offices and duty stations around the world. So at the head of the United Nations Secretariat is the Secretary General.